Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Thanks for joining us for this week's dose of RHI. RHI stories of courage, hope, attitude, and inspiration, brought to you by our longtime donors and supporters, Wilson Kehoe Winningham. They sponsor this series, which we're so grateful for. And this week's edition is going to be very special. And you'll learn why shortly. We have Janine Stelmack. She is our new donor services officer. And we also have Paul Evans, who is joining us this week. So I'm going to let you two take it away.
Good morning, Paul.
Good morning.
Again, thank you very much for coming in.
Yes.
And go ahead and tell us who we've been talking. You don't mind sharing again?
Don't mind sharing at all.
Yeah.
I could start with how I got here. Today I drove, but I'll do that to her every once in a while. I'll give her a smart aleck answer to a serious question. September 7th of 2016, I had a brain aneurysm. I didn't know it at the time, but that's what it was. I was at home, first stroke of good luck, and I just felt an odd feeling in my head. I've described it to others as it felt like bugs crawling around under my skin. I sat at the computer for a while wondering, what in the world was that? Don't know how long I sat there or waited, but finally I went to the doorway between the front room where I was and where my wife was, and I said, something's going on. I feel weird. And that's the last thing I remember for about 7 or 8 weeks, until I came back to life. My wife was on one side of the bed. Somebody else was over here. I would like to say that I looked at her and said, pardon me, dear, could you tell me what's going on? But it was probably more like, I don't know. She said, you're at RHI, you had a brain aneurysm, and I didn't articulate it to myself even this well, but my feeling was, this is not good. How am I coming out of this? And here I am today, 2.5 years later, and I'm incredibly fortunate to be as well off as I am. Last month we went to a breakfast for donors to the sports program. I didn't even know RHA had a sports program. But in just the smallest way, I saw that I could identify with some of those people who've had a problem and are using sports to come back. Because in that moment, in the bed, when I thought to myself, oh, this could be very, very bad, I think I can identify with what some of them feel when they're in that situation. And there's a very great deal about my experiences that I do not remember, and I don't need to remember them. The 3 weeks or whatever it was at Methodist Hospital, I went to a presentation where the doctor talks about some of the things they do, and when they opened it up for Q&A, I said later, hey, you've just convinced me. I don't need to remember any of that. What I remember is being here somewhere, waking up in that crib with that net around me and being unable to get out of it. And apparently that's why they put it up there, because I kept trying to get up. And then working with these therapists who would come get me and get me in a wheelchair and take me down to one of the therapy rooms and then just simply walk. Had to relearn that. It came back pretty quick. But and And do you know who you are? Do you know where you are? Do you know why you're here? They tell me I had a brain aneurysm. Don't know. I don't remember. But doing what they do in the sequence they do it is what got me here. I'm incredibly fortunate. Every time I talk about this, I just can't get over how or why I am so lucky to be this well off. It's just incredible.
So let's go back just a little bit.
Sure.
So you were at Methodist.
Yes.
And
They say.
There's a connection on how you came here. So bring your neighbor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. When I'm on, when my wife got me up and into the couch, and the big red truck's outside there, and neighbor over here is going on, and Julie's out there, and our neighbor Julie, and
She works at RHI.
yes, Julie works here at RHI.
Okay.
And she's getting ready for work, and paramedics have done their thing, and they offer me that option. You know, we can take you to the hospital. You can come in later if you feel the need to. And I said, let's go for a ride. Surprised my wife. She thought, sure, I'd say, no, I'll go in later if I have to. But so they took me to St. Vincent, and I was there. They were actually ready to send me home because they had done everything the paramedics had done. I was stable, nothing apparently going on. So my wife went to get me a drink of water or some ice or something, I don't know. And either when she came back or shortly after she came back, I just folded up like a leaf. And she went out in the hallway, said, need some help in here. Maybe a little more emphatic than that. And they did a CAT scan and found the aneurysm and said, you need to be at Methodist Hospital. And meanwhile, when the big red truck was out in front of the house, Julie had to come into work. So she had called her husband, James, across the street, and he was at St. Vincent when Kathy came out, and so he was right there for support. And then they transferred me to Methodist, and they did a procedure right through the back of my neck. And yeah, I got some, anyway. At Methodist, whatever they do, about 3 weeks, they got to the point, okay, he needs to be transferred to another facility. They asked my wife, where do you want him to go? She doesn't know anything about rehab or anything. I mean, who does before you get here? So Julie got with her, and they went to several places, this being one of them. But Julie let Kathy make the decision. But she's pulling for this. It's the best place. But let Kathy make the decision. So I end up here, and I end up in that crib with the net around me. And my wife's telling me, I'm at RHI. I had a brain aneurysm. Okay, that's serious. I don't know how serious, but it is serious. And then, somebody would come get me out of bed, I suppose, and I'd go down to the therapy room, and we'd walk. And to start with, that's all I remember. Is we'd just walk around the square, and until we'd progress and take another step. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. Okay. I just thought it was really cool too how you talked about Julie and her husband being such great neighbors to you. But can you share just real quick when they asked at one time they asked where you were at?
Well, one time they asked me, and I said, this was probably back in Methodist. Is this the one you want? Somebody asked me where I was, and I had answered, I'm in Baton Rouge. My daughter lives in Baton Rouge. I had recently been to visit her. I was delivering a truck, and so I stopped in and visited with her. And so she was there at the hospital. I had heard her voice. I must be in Baton Rouge. And some other times I would answer that I was in Detroit or Roanoke, other places that I went frequently with these delivering these trucks. And but
when you came here, I think they asked you, and you said, yeah.
Well, when I came here, well, the funny story here was again, Julie, our neighbor, works here, but in a different unit. So one day she's on break, and she's in the break room, and she says to somebody else who works in the unit that I'm in, "Well, how's my neighbor doing?" "Well, who's your neighbor?" "Well, Mr. Evans." "He's your neighbor?" "Okay." Because they would ask me, "Do you know where you are?" "Yeah, I'm at Julie's." I had heard Julie. She would come see me every free, I don't know how often, but I had heard her voice, so I'm at Julie's. But nobody else knew that she was my neighbor until that instance in the break room. It's just, the brain's an amazing thing. It's working all the time. It's just trying to make some connections there, and sometimes they're really good connections, and sometimes they're close.
Right.
Have I said again how lucky I am?
Yes. And so kind of coming around too to saying how do you feel that RHI, you said, brought you back to life, or?
RHI was there when I came back to life. I'm not going to say these people work miracles, but they're there when the miracles happen. And I have a story. I don't want to deviate too much, but sometimes I used to ski a lot, and I've always said about skiing, the third time I did it right. I went somewhere where they have instructors and they can teach and they know how to present stuff in what order, as opposed to going with somebody saying, "Well, come on, we'll show you." Well, it's kind of thing. That teacher knows how to present stuff in what sequence, and the therapists here know how to present the stuff in the sequence to get you up out of the bed, into the chair, walking a little bit, walk around, how to, one thing I clearly remember, you've got this mock-up of a car, and there's the whole thing about, you grab the handle, you grab the grab handle, put a hand on the seat, one foot in, so you've always got 3 points of contact. Now that's not groundbreaking or anything, but remembering to do it in that sequence is important to keep you on your feet and into the car safely. And it's just a little thing about how to present stuff in the sequence and get back to living. So it's I'm here because I had excellent care and people that work every day to help you come back to your normal, whatever your new normal is. And I'm just incredibly fortunate that my new normal is about 95% of where I was. I have no explanation other than I'm just incredibly fortunate.
And you were talking about before too, just about paying it forward, or?
Yeah, I'm glad. Thank you. I need somebody to keep me on track sometimes. When I think about where I was, what I was doing, how I got here, how I am today, I've said any number of times, even this morning, I'm incredibly fortunate, and I feel a need to give back somehow, to pay it forward, to use the current term, because again, I did not do this by myself. I have in fact come back here, and also to the place I went after this. Can I get in a plug for Evergreen? Done. Because it's important for the therapists. I'm sure these therapists work every day with people, and occasionally they see someone that's as good as it's going to get, and I could see that that could be kind of demoralizing. So I come back every so often to say, hey, I'm doing fine because of you. And if it makes that person realize, yeah, I am doing good, then that's good, because they do amazing work. Again, I wouldn't be here without a lot of people saying, we're thinking of you, we're praying for you, working with you. And here I am.
I know for the therapist, I know it builds them up. It kind of fills their heart when they see somebody who's coming back, especially as well as you are. I wouldn't know, to be honest with you. I don't think the average Joe would know. But it makes them feel good. It kind of makes, obviously it builds you up too. So just want to say thank you again for coming. We do want to, again, thank you, Wilson Kehoe and Winningham. And thank you again, Paul, for coming. And
I hope I hope this is some small measure of repayment.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you'd like to make a gift in honor of Paul Evans or any of our past patients and help us continue the incredible work and care that we provide, please click on the link and make a gift. Every dollar helps us further our mission. We are a nonprofit hospital, so the individual giving we receive, the philanthropy, really helps us provide the best possible care in the state of Indiana. Thank you, Wilson Kehoe Winningham, and we will see you next week for another episode of RHI. Have a great day.